We're live with Ryan Jerger.
Yeah.
Ryan, did you think this day would come?
As in being on the show?
Because you would give me shit about it all the time.
I'm not gonna lie. I was waiting for this day. People that know me know that I love talking, so I was patiently waiting for the invite to be on.
And I gotta thank you so much for stepping up. Did you think that, like, were you always a natural born leader, or did you always were you naturally inclined to step up? Because you have, in many ways for this class, whether it was just an abundance of students that needed your help or I was out sick, you took charge. Was that in you always, or was that a recent thing?
I really want to say no, because I feel like back when I was in college was when I really started to get there. I think for me, like, being a leader, it didn't come easy. I mean, I really had to learn.
Or naturally?
Yeah. I think that I really had to learn, like, a balance, and that really happened in college, like, to be able to lead. You know, back when I was, like, a freshman, I mean, I was smart when I was in college, but I would waste a lot of time doing things that were not helpful, to put it shortly. And I think that once I, like, figured out, you know, hey, like, if I work hard and, you know, I can really reach my goals, and I learned how to help others as well. Like, once I kind of figured it out.
Yeah, I don't hear that too often, in the sense of finding balance or managing your time as a criteria for leadership.
Well, I mean, to me it is, because I feel like, at least in this class, most students struggle with time and trying to figure out, hey, like, I'm in college, but I also have to do well in this class.
Yeah.
And I think seeing us, I mean, I'm not going to say I have life figured out, like, fully, but I think I've gotten to the point where I can tell them, hey, like, you can go do those other things, but put some time each day into working on this, and, you know, it will help you get to that point that you want to be at. And, you know, like, being a leader, it's not easy at all. Like, I remember the first time that you were gone, I believe it was just for a wedding or something. And I was like, I'm, like, the oldest one here, like, technically, in terms of, you know, like, the class.
As far as experience goes?
Yeah. Experience wise, I was like, well, I guess I have no other choice but to lead it. But, you know, doing it more and more, you get more comfy doing it, and you get better at it as you go. So,
to give people perspective as to where you're at in your journey, you're out of undergrad. You're working 3 jobs?
Yeah.
3 jobs. And the other week, you just kind of slid this in there that you got accepted into PA school.
Yes.
I before that, I knew you were applying, but I had no idea where you were in the process. You're not as, and maybe it's just like the humility in you, but you don't speak too much about it. Whereas I hear about it from Chloe and Diego. Not that they brag about it. It's just like they're more maybe outspoken about it.
To me, it's not that I'm not proud of, like, being in PA school. Like, I'm super excited for it. I think it's just more that I know that there's other people that aren't in the place that I'm in, and I don't want to make them feel bad about themselves.
I see.
I don't know if that really makes sense or not.
It does.
But that's how I feel about it
sense.
sometimes. And also, it's like I don't talk about myself a lot. I like talking about things I like and, like, you know, things like that. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't really ever like hype myself up too much.
Well, I guess it adds to the aura of how regular you are, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but regular in the sense of well balanced. Like, you're not, like, putting your complete identity in medicine or your work, and you balance your friends, your work, your hobbies, and school. And it was really interesting that I didn't hear, like, how some students, like, really talk about all the things they feel like they need to get done in order to feel like a good candidate for something.
Yeah.
I never heard anything like that. Like, I didn't hear anything about research. I didn't hear anything about volunteering. I think what I've noticed in our time together is how much you work. whether it's here or with Event Med or Medex, like you are workaholic. And I think if I reflect on my time in my early 20s, I was exactly how you were. Maybe not with as many jobs, but maybe at 1 or 2 jobs, putting in that, like I would be okay. I would be hungry for 60, 70-hour work weeks, especially living this. If I was single, like you don't really owe anyone your time. And if you're not at work, you're kind of just doing nothing, and
that's true.
Would you agree, like how would you describe the era that you're currently in?
As in like in my work life or just
in general? In general.
Yeah. Well, I think a part of it is it's hard on a salary that we have in EMS to not have to work a lot. Like most of my coworkers work over 40 hours a week just because they have to live in the city of Chicago. But I think to me, it's more as I do love working. I'm not going to lie. It makes me feel like I have a purpose, right? And I think what's important is that I like working where I work, where like I'm happy because like to me coming here, I've told people that work here as well, like it doesn't feel like work even though it is, right? Because like I'm friends with you, I'm friends with Chloe, Diego, everyone. It's very like, I don't know. It doesn't feel like I'm working when I'm here. And, like same with doing concerts and stuff, like festivals. I mean, I love attending them. So when I'm working them, it doesn't feel like work, So I think I've gotten to a point where, I do have to work a lot and I could be super negative about it and say, oh, my life sucks. I work 50-hour weeks, but I'd rather just be positive about it and work places that I enjoy working. So
how would you describe, is there a word that comes to mind when you think about this current phase of your life?
This current era, I think it's grind time,
which
sounds super cheesy.
Is it hard to stay present? Like, or is your mind in certain areas at the same time? Like,
oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. I think the hardest part is like sleeping, to be honest. I mean,
is it trying to find time to sleep or actually sleeping?
It's trying to find time to sleep, which sounds bad, but
so you want to sleep.
Doing EMS. Yeah. It's like, I mean, at least this week, I mean, it's that balance too. So Thursday night I had a couple friends that wanted to go out, meet up and talk and go to a concert. So of course I went, and I had to make the choice to go to work the next morning very early. And then, today I was here at 8 a.m. after getting held over last night.
Yeah. 4
so
hours.
It's hard to find sleep. Yeah. But I mean, to me, if I'm happy, then it's worth it. Sure. Is it healthy? Probably not.
Well, it's caught up to you a couple times. I know it's caught up to me. On Thursday, I came down with a migraine that caused vomiting, and you've come down, not feeling well.
Yeah, a few times
just from being overworked. Or could be, so yeah.
Like,
I mean, at what point is it a lesson to prioritize your health?
Yeah, I think to me, I mean, it's happened a few times. It's burnout. One is when I'm at work and, I'm on a serious call, like with Lurie's or something, and my brain is just fogging, even though there's something very important that I should be paying attention to. I'm kind of just lost in my own space. That's happened to me a few times, and that's when I'm like, okay, I need a few days off. So, I'll schedule a little trip, not to the level of Diego's trips. If Diego's
we love you, Diego.
Yeah, we do. We love you. But I'll take a few days off. Whether it's just like making music or playing video games. I'll take that time to cool down. So that's one. The one other time that I noticed I was overworked was I was working in Lala. This was last year, not the most recent Lollapalooza, but it was the last day. I think I was at hour like 60 or 70 on the week. And this was when I just started here too. So it wasn't like I was being overworked here, but I just noticed that like I was having a lot of patients and I didn't feel like I cared about them, which sounds so bad.
So the number of patients that you had were high, and
I was just so
your
stressed.
Actual mental patience,
it like changed.
Not mental patience, but like your ability to be patient with your patients was.
It was gone. It was very, very minimal,
non-existent.
Right, which is, I mean, that's what you never want to reach as a medic or anything, right? EMT. So that was another moment where I was like, I had to step back and like, take it easy for a bit. So it's hard.
It's a common thing we see in healthcare, of healthcare providers being the last to prioritize themselves.
Yeah, I think I definitely have that problem sometime. sometimes.
And do you feel like it's out of necessity? Like you said, like in order to live a certain lifestyle or live in the city of Chicago, you feel like you need to keep up with all these things?
You know, I don't want to say that it is fully, because I'm very blessed that I do have parents that help me sometimes. If they're watching, shout out mom and dad, Jerger, they're great. But I mean, yeah, it is hard. I think that if I didn't live the life that I did, as in like, I mean, I spend money doing things that I enjoy, right? It's not like I'm so poor that I can't afford to live, but it's that if I didn't work as much as I did, I would have a very sad life in my eyes.
Okay.
As in, like, I wouldn't be able to go out to dinner with friends, right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to go on my one trip a year, right, to Lost Lands for music and stuff.
Right.
So to me, it's like, it's almost worth working so much to be able to be happy in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many, if you can share, how many interviews did you get, or how many programs did you apply to?
Yeah, for PA school. So I applied to Midwestern, which is where I'm going.
Okay.
I'm very excited to
Does
be
it feel good to
attending
say
there.
that? Like say
Yeah,
that publicly?
it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, like, as I said, I don't talk about myself very often to other people, but I applied there. I applied to North Central College, which is in Naperville.
Okay.
Rosalind Franklin, which is up north.
Wash Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He went there. I never heard back. So I applied there, and then I applied to.
Never heard of North Central.
It's in Naperville.
Yeah, I never heard.
It's smaller.
Okay.
I believe the last one was Northwestern. Yeah, that's the last one.
Okay. Did you
So
hear
it
back?
wasn't a lot of schools. I did hear back. I did not get accepted. Which,
Okay.
I mean, it happens. It's hard.
So did you get to it? Is it North Central and Midwestern?
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What came first?
First was North Central.
Okay.
Yes.
So and what's the process? Like, do you have to take the interview, or are you waiting till you hear back from other programs, or how did that work?
At least for me, when I did North Central's, theirs was a little bit different. Whereas if I did hear back that I got in, it was going to take like a month or two to hear back.
Is this what was the interview process like?
Oh, sorry, the process. So, it was online.
Okay.
It was via Zoom.
Group?
Yeah. No, it was one-on-one.
Okay.
Just as it was for the other one for Midwestern.
Gotcha.
But it's all done through Zoom. I personally hate Zoom. I hate online school. I hate online interviews.
The impersonalness of it?
Yeah, it doesn't feel real to me. Which
We're in
sounds
the Matrix.
like, yeah, it's real, but it's like I thrive when I'm in person.
Okay.
In school, at least. And I feel like it's harder to show somebody who I am through a screen than if I'm actually there.
Yeah.
So that, like, that was tough for me, and that's why I was really worried about doing these interviews online, because I didn't know if they would like be able to see that I'm a person, right? And not just like another, I had this GPA, I did research, volunteer, all of that stuff.
I mean, did you think about what you might talk about to convey your humanness?
What's really bad is I prepared for my first interview the night before. I
appreciate the transparency.
There's a lot of people that will pay people to do practice interviews. They will look up common questions that programs will ask, and they will spend time.
So then you're over-prepared
answering those. Yeah, and to me, in my head, I was like, I don't want to sound like a robot. And I think that actually helped me a lot more than hurt me.
I think so too.
Because my answers were very human, and they were very honest.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember one question that they asked me was like talk about one of your worst calls, because for me, I talked about how I'm at Lurie's, right? We get some hard calls sometimes, or, doing concerts and stuff. Sometimes there's bad things that happen. And I remember I was like, oh, well, I have a lot. So give me a second to think about it. And I think that kind of like threw them back a minute. They were like, whoa. So, yeah. I mean, it was tough, but I'm very glad with how it turned out, at least for me. I got into Midwestern. And
so at what point did you hear back about an interview from Midwestern?
North Central was, I want to say, early August.
Yeah.
And then, like as I said, they said it was going to be a while till I heard back. Midwestern, they reached out, I believe, early September.
Oh, so you haven't heard back from North Central yet?
No. But I'm already I already put my money down for Midwestern. So even if I do, I'm locked in to Midwestern.
Right. But you heard back in September about an interview for Midwestern.
Yeah.
So were there any takeaways from North Central that you put into place for Midwestern?
For the interview or
Yeah.
just in general? I think the biggest takeaway, as I said, was to be very human and to not
did you prepare the day before
No.
again?
I did nothing the day before. In fact, I'm pretty sure it was on a Monday, so I had to call off work for it. So I did that. Sorry to my employer. But I mean, I don't know, man. To me, it's better to be genuine than just to sound like another robot med student or PA student that, well, I did this, I volunteer, right? I have my contact hours. It's like, okay, we all have that. Just talk about why you're different.
How different were the interviews?
They were very, very similar.
Very similar.
As I said, like I've only done 2 interviews, so I can't speak to a bunch of different programs and how they are. But it was very similar questions. It was, what's your experience, right? Why here? Which those ones I guess that was like I kind of looked up like the programs a little bit beforehand, but I didn't have like a planned answer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Okay. So I guess I did some research.
Yeah.
But what I mean more is I didn't have a typed out response next to me to say, oh, I love Midwestern. I've wanted to go here since blah, blah, blah. It was more of a, this is a good program. I've heard good things about it. And I think that if I come here, I can be a strong PA.
So what do you think led to your acceptance? And so far it's just Midwestern, right?
Yeah.
That you'll be locked in. But like, what do you think out of all the things, and if I were to guess, it might be your work experience, but what would you say is what was some of your best assets?
I know it's a very simple answer, but I think it was a little bit of everything, which sounds bad, but I had a very strong GPA, which I think that helps a lot.
I didn't know.
I graduated with a 4.0 from UIC.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You don't flaunt it.
I never flaunt it. I'm not a big flaunter.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's huge though.
It was awesome. Yeah. I worked super hard to get it, but like I said, I don't go around flaunting it. I think what's the funniest thing ever is my mom that summer after I graduated at like every family party, she would go up to people. She'd be like, Ryan graduated with the 4.0, and I would just be in the corner like, oh, like, yeah, Mom. Yeah. But so I think that was a big part of it, and I think like me talking to them and those 2 interviews did a lot for me, at least for Midwestern.
Did they remark on anything at the end of the interview?
One of them did say that it was an extremely strong interview, and I could tell that he was actually paying attention, where other times, they're kind of just sitting there typing.
Oh, God.
So, yeah.
So you drew from some of the patient care experiences that you had?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I talked a lot about Lala in my Midwestern interview. I believe North Central, I did a little bit more Lurie, but to me, that's, I don't want to say more basic, but I think like working concerts and festivals is a lot different and more stressful than working on an ambulance, at least in my opinion, because it's like working in like a scene that's not safe all the time in a way, right?
Yeah,
like it's like always changing when you're out there. So.
Well, also your like kind of adrenaline levels are kind of like always heightened.
Yeah. And when you're walking to a call, it could be, oh yeah, someone's passed out, and then you show up and it's a lot more serious than that, right? Or the opposite, you show up and it's nothing and they're just in like La La Land. But.
How has the variety of experiences that you've gained as an EMT helped your teaching, and vice versa? How has your teaching helped your patient care experience?
Yeah. I think I have a wide array of treating patients. I've had pediatrics, thanks to Lurie's. Before I was on the Lurie team, I started like a year and a half ago now doing that. I was just on street shifts. And, I got to experience IFT. I got to experience nursing home care and things like that. And then like working like festivals and concerts, it really gave me like, it was almost like hazing myself in a way to, this is how to react when someone's life is on the line, right? Where you don't really get that if you're doing IFT unless something goes wrong.
Right.
So I think that I really got like a very broad view of healthcare. And really the only thing that I'm missing is being like a tech. But I think that working with Lurie's kind of gave me that experience because I got to work with like nurses and, RTs and see what they use and what they need. So yeah, I think I have a very broad view more than other people that were applying did. That were just, oh yeah, I was a CNA, I worked on a floor, or I was an EMT, but I just did IFT. I think that my other experiences really helped with that a lot, and I think teaching is great. I love it. I mean, for one, I love helping other people learn.
When was the seed planted for a desire to teach? Like, was it immediately in class when you took it, or
no? Definitely not.
Wasn't.
Definitely not.
What were you thinking about in class? What was
when I signed up for the EMT class? I was thinking.
What year was that?
This was 2020.
2020.
I took it the summer of COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I signed up for the class, Chloe and Diego convinced me because I kept telling them, I have no money and I want a job in healthcare. And they were like, well, EMT is great for that. Because my plan at the time was pre-med.
Were they already teaching, or were they in your class?
They were teaching because back at UIC, I mean, once you were kind of done with the program.
Did they take the class before?
Yeah. I took it right after them.
Okay.
So basically it started was I want a job in healthcare, but I don't want to do research. No offense to research people. I don't like it. And they were like, yeah, you should take the class. I think you would like being an EMT. And to me, it was a test of, can I handle the stress of being trying to work with people's lives on the line. That's what I wanted to see. Because my sister, who's a doctor, she always told me, if you want to be a doctor, you should find out if you can actually handle it first. So to me, that was kind of like, okay, I can get a job in healthcare and I can see, if I have what it takes.
Yeah.
So that was why I originally signed up. When I took the class, I mean, I loved it. I loved the hands-on of it.
And through your clinical rotations, where did you think you'd first end up? With your
the
license.
job?
Yeah.
I saw myself working on an ambulance, which I did.
Yeah.
And I even tell our students, I think starting on IFT is great because it's kind of like easy mode, right? Like you get to use your skills sometimes, but it's not a super high stress environment where you're just thrown into something wild.
Sure.
And I think for me, not that I couldn't handle working at Event Med or, being a tech, it was that I wanted to make sure that I was ready first. So that was a big part of it.
At what point did you feel ready for Event Med?
I worked at Medex for about 6 months, 7 months before I applied.
And then you're like, okay, I think I got it.
Yeah, and I felt pretty confident. And what's funny is my first shift there, I didn't do any interview. I wasn't hired on formally.
Event Med or Medex?
No, for concerts. For
Event Med.
Yeah, for Event Med.
Okay.
So what happened is they were short-staffed for a festival. And they were like, hey, can you, we'll pay you extra. Can you come work? I was like, yeah, sure. And then I came. It was an extremely stressful day. It was a rap festival in Douglas Park. So it was hot. It was crazy.
Yeah. And,
I loved it. That was one of the first days I was like, okay, I feel like I'm finally getting to the point where I feel confident in my skills as an EMT. Because, it's hard when you're first starting because you don't do a lot on IFTs. Mm. So, but then I started to feel more confident.
Well, what can we say about when you start to feel like an overglorified Uber driver? Because if you pay close enough attention, there could always be something that goes wrong, right? So how do you not become too complacent? That's a really tough subject, I feel like, because I think that there's a lot of IFT EMTs that if something did go wrong, they would not know what to do, which is the reality of it. And I think the most important thing is that, this job, yes, it can be done for life if you end up being on a fire department or something, but it really is like a step. And if you're not working towards your next goal while you're an EMT, it's hard to kind of stay motivated. Easy to fall into a trap. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, right? For me, I knew that I wanted to do PA once I was a junior. And I was like, okay, if I want to be able to do that, I need to get experience in more ways than one. Because to me, I thought just doing IFT wasn't enough to prove that I, want to go on in medicine. So to me, it was like, I want to show myself that I can do this, and also I want to keep learning more. So that's a big part of not getting lazy. I feel like is trying to get to that next step. For some people, it's paramedic. For other people, it's PA, MD, or even just trying to get on a fire department is a step in the right direction.
Were there any moments throughout this journey that you felt like you wanted to change life paths? Like like we just talked about how one of our instructors is kind of pivoting paths potentially.
Yeah.
Like, so, and sometimes we see it from our own students of like wanting to go to med school, they're pre-med, and then they fall in love with pre-hospital medicine and they end up going to paramedic school. And you could always go to med school afterwards, right? So did anything like that happen to you? Like, did you meet people that was inspiring and you're like, I think I could do that? Like, should I try? Would I regret not trying?
I mean, for me, I really wanted to be a medic.
Because you were pre-med in undergrad, or what?
I was, yeah.
Okay.
I've been pre-med since I went to UIC.
Okay.
But like once I was an EMT, I got it my sophomore year. So from sophomore year through senior year, I was certified.
Okay, so that's a question in and of itself.
Yeah.
Was that manageable working at IFT with undergrad?
I was part-time. Full-time, I would say, is not manageable.
Which is what, twice a month?
Yeah.
Or twice a week?
I was doing
twice every 2 weeks.
I was doing one shift every week.
Yeah. Okay. Twice every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't horrible doing that. However, there were times around finals where I would say, "Hey, like I'm not going to come in next week because I have an exam." I would say it's very doable. I would say if you want to study, I would do IFT because as a tech, you're not going to have time as well.
There's always
as for
something
concerts.
to do.
Yeah. But I really wanted to be a medic, especially teaching. When I met Jack and John and other people that were medics, I was like, I wish it wasn't one, a year long, and two, like 5 to 10K to become.
To be
a
honest,
medic.
it should probably be a little longer than a year long.
Yeah, I know. I agree. It definitely should be. But to me, right, like I was like, okay, I mean, I'm young, right? I was 23 at the time when I was thinking about it. I was like, if I become a paramedic and then I want to work on a fire department, like I'm going to want to do that for a few years. And then, by that point, if I want to do PA or MD still, I'm going to be around 30 once I'm done with it. So to me, I chose that it was more worth it just to keep working as an EMT, but try to broaden my experiences and then just go straight to PA.
Did Medex have one-on-one experiences?
Yeah, okay. They do. You can work with ALS, I believe, after 6 months.
Is that something you ever did?
I never did it. Okay. Only reason being was because I got on Lurie, and that's with a nurse and an RT. So to me, it was like even better than like doing it with ALS. Like, sure, do I do less on a call than you would as an EMT? Yes.
Yeah,
but I still get to see the level of care, and I still get to step in when I'm needed.
Right.
And for me, like doing that job, I think the biggest benefit was seeing like how many calls they get for like things that are extremely serious and need like a higher level of care that I would never see on IFT or at concerts. I'm trying to think of a good one, like a shock, right? It's pretty rare for an IFT if you're a patient to be in like severe shock. But I remember seeing my first, like neonatal pale baby that's, looking not great and being like, okay, this is what we need to do. And this is like how to work as a team and, get this kid to where they have to be. So, yeah. Sorry, I love blabbing, so I'm probably going on really long tangents.
How long did it take you to feel comfortable on IFT?
On IFT? I think I got comfortable pretty fast. Reason being that I think that this class got me really ready for that, as well as I felt ready for more than just that when I was done with this program. Just because, we spend so much time doing hands-on and talking about things that are, a little bit more serious than IFT. Like, for example, today, like our patient was a stroke patient that the students had to walk through. So like, doing that in class, I feel like I felt a little bit more confident having a patient like that than if I just went to Elite or somewhere where you just do the class and they don't really teach you that much about 911 or. Well,
we don't know how Elite runs their classes.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard from other people, but yeah, you're right. I shouldn't say that on the podcast, but
yeah, I mean, so I agree with you as far as teaching just enhances or refreshes your thought about certain things.
Yeah.
I know that's why Nick does it for himself as well. How do you think you're best, how do you think you're showing up for the students?
I mean, as in like...
And is if like you ever walk away with a feeling of like a goal that you're striving for as far as how to show up for the students?
It's tough because I've never like really heard from a student like, hey, like you've helped me out this much, like you're my favorite instructor and you've helped me, through hard things. I think to me it's more I show up, I give them all the knowledge that I have. And, I think even just doing that for them and being there if they have any questions at all and sharing that with them is how I'm there for them. I think a lot of students feel close with me just because I'm here all the time. So that definitely helps a lot. But I just think that I'm like very open, and I think the fact that I never really like get angry at them if they get something wrong. Mm-hmm. That also helps a lot. I'm more of like there to help them, like even if like they're wrong at all, Yeah. So
I mean, do you ever find yourself like losing patience with certain students, and how to mitigate that? Like how do we like remind ourselves, like, is there anything else we could be doing for this student?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely happened a few times where I feel like I've given my all and they're still not where they should be. But in those moments, like I kind of have to step back once again and think to myself, like, if I was in their shoes, how would I feel if, I'm struggling and instead of trying to help, like they just get angry or like stop trying, like that would feel terrible as a student. So in that moment, I really like step back, like take a breather and just try again.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I approach it, at least.
Yeah.
I know different people do it differently.
So as you continue to host office hours, and let's say the majority of the students were here to bounce more scenarios, how would you ideally want to facilitate that?
Interesting. In my eyes, I feel like the best way to get better at running through those is just practice. So if I had multiple people here, let's say
10, at least 10 people.
10?
Yeah.
I think doing small groups is the best way to do it. Because if you're doing it one-on-one, yes, it's going to help that student a lot. But the main thing that I think that we've done really well is having them proctor each other, because they get to see like the other side.
So,
and I feel like that's
I'm in the
almost
process
just as
of
good as
coming
doing
up with
it.
the scenario workbook.
Yeah. So like in my eyes, that would be the best way to do it. And, like students that struggle with it, I always tell them, it's not really about like knowing every single bullet point. It's about like doing enough practice that you can like miss something and then it will pop up in your head.
Yeah.
Not from like being like, oh, like I memorized the whole sheet, but like, let's say like I have a low SpO2 and I hear something odd, then like that might draw me back to what I missed earlier on, like later on in the assessment. So it's really about practice. And like there are students that do well with just purely memorizing the sheet. And if that works for you, sure. But, if you don't know the whys of things, it's going to be a lot harder once you actually start working. Because, like, you're not going to spend 5 minutes, on someone that's having a stroke going through every single bullet point. And
something that I realized at the tail end of the last class and the beginning of this class is that performing clinical rotations sooner in the class could be helpful. Whereas the previous thought was you might not have all the assessments under your belt, and so how helpful are these, or how useful are these clinical rotations if you have the inability to actually practice assessments? Yeah. But after respiratory, cardiac, and airway, which is when they can begin clinical rotations, I think it's like seeing the actual visual of the conditions that we're talking about and associating the signs and symptoms. And there's multiple levels of like making it real for them that seem to be helpful in solidifying the patient assessment.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I think starting earlier is better just because it does show them what things actually look like. Like, for example, when we, just start with teaching them, okay, this is O2, right? One thing that always happens is 90 to 94, right, low flow. And they get really caught up on that because they don't know what it means when someone is like having a hard time to breathe. Right. To them, it's either, okay, they are not breathing or, they need like low flow. Whereas like in real life, when I have a patient, I can tell if they need O2 and what to use just by looking at them. I don't need like SpO2 reading.
Yeah.
Right? Like there's other signs that you should pay attention
and
to.
You just don't have the
so
visuals.
Seeing those in real life, I think would benefit them a lot.
I agree. Okay.
But I do see the other side where it's like, if they don't know anything, how useful would it be to just throw them at Northwestern and have to, see a bunch of patients?
One thing that I'm discovering again, as far as what to emphasize sooner, is what is included when one considers cervical spinal stabilization.
Yeah, that's definitely another one people
because
mess
they
up
think
a
it's
lot.
including the C collar, and it's just manual C spine or telling someone to not move their head.
Move. Yeah. I've had a lot of students mess that up this semester, but also previous ones. So I'm not blaming them at all for it.
Is there anything that you would augment or implement about the program in general? It could be about the culture amongst the team. It could be for the students. It could be lab stuff. It could be medical trauma.
Honestly, I know this was like 2 semesters ago, but having like the small groups I thought was really helpful. Like when I would meet with students, if they were to reach out, because every class we'll always end it by saying, if you have any questions, like all of our emails are on the website.
That's what we currently say.
Yeah, and I've never gotten one email from a student.
I know
it's tough, but
when we did groups, how many people ghosted you?
In my group, 2. But
out of like 5 or 6?
I think I had 6. But there were 4, and 2 of them were really strong students. So they would reach out even though they didn't really need help. Like their questions were a little bit more advanced, which if I could help them with it, I would. If not, I would forward them to Jack.
Do you think office hours have replaced that?
I think in a way it does, but I think that office hours right now is being used a lot for just taking exams again.
Okay,
whereas I would like it to be more. You've been out for like
a week of office hours.
Yeah, that's true. I did miss out on. I think
the next time you come back, I think we're building momentum, and we're starting to see consistency and the stronger, like after people are caught up with the retakes.
Yeah,
they're standing on a solid foundation, and if they commit to consistent office hours, then it becomes more of a practice session rather than a retake session.
Yeah, and I mean I've seen students at least like that one session that we ran that came back this week and did great on their exam and things like that. So that is helpful, and I think the one thing that office hours holds over doing the mentor groups you are right, is people that want help will come. Yeah. Whereas we're not wasting time trying to reach out to people that won't show up.
I know there's that buffer period of like, when are you guys available?
Yeah.
And this is when I'm available.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that does take that part out on our side, which is helpful. But it was nice to like have like a little group chat.
It definitely
if they had any question, they would just fire it.
Kimberly an opportunity to chime in.
That too.
She misses it so much.
Yeah, I mean she's busy. She's even busier than I am as a med student. So yeah, but I mean that would be fun. I think also doing like a team thing where like we all just go meet somewhere and do something. I mean it doesn't have to be fancy, like for example, just me and Jack going out to get a drink, or just meeting somewhere for a dinner, like where it's not all paid for, would be helpful. Just because like there's so many people that teach that I rarely ever see, and it's not that
really someone who works so much like you still don't.
I never see them still
don't see certain people.
I mean, like in my head, I'm thinking Jack. I've seen him once in like the last month.
He's gonna love hearing that.
Or like like Liam too. He's in paramedic school now, but if he does office hours,
he comes as much as he can. Yeah.
So it would just be nice, like, to have the option, like, hey, we're all going to go here, like, once a month.
But do you think if we did that they would have the free time to show up?
I think they probably wouldn't have the free time, but some of them might still come,
yeah,
whether they have it or not. I mean, there's times, like I said, like this Thursday where you're like, should I have gone out with my friends before working at 7 a.m.? No, but, like, that's a choice that you make, right, to be happy, for me at least. So, I don't know. To me, it's really about balance, and I think like it's always about trying to be better about it, but I mean, at least for me in college, I was so bad, like I was so lazy in college, and I think that I'm finally at that point where like I can make a choice to go out and do something, and I know that I will be an adult and like still sleep and do things.
Mature of you to say that. Do you feel like you had a good grasp of your identity in college? And I feel like part of you there has to be, if you had the ability to get a 4.0, a 4.0, like there has to be that necessary level of self-awareness with who you are and what you need to do to accomplish that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that I was better off than other people were when they start college. But like how I operated, at least freshman and sophomore year, was I would spend like literally 8 to 10 hours doing all my homework like a day. So like Monday through Wednesday, I would get all my work done for the week.
Wow.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I would do nothing besides, play video games, go out. It was.
But where did you?
It was
where did
balanced,
you learn
but
that
it was
discipline?
It was a bad balance. Where did I learn that? Honestly, I think that I learned how to work hard through running. I mean,
You were a runner? I didn't know this. You were
no
a runner?
one knows this now because I don't look like I run now. Because like PA school really, like those apps took a toll on me. But I ran 2 marathons.
Okay.
It was freshman and sophomore year.
Oh, wow.
So, and like, I think that how that was like, I tried to make like studying like running, where I would run like my
like
10-mile run was,
yeah.
Doing homework for 8 hours straight and not eating, not,
It's like a sprinted marathon.
Yeah. It was a weird balance, but like those days of running like taught me how to actually work for something. And I think that really helped me like later on.
Wow.
Especially in college,
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're like those first 2 years, it's also easier courses, right? Like for me, my orgo, my biochem
could you maintain
was
that extremism in your junior senior year?
I think if I did, I would not have a 4.0. Because
so you switch it up?
I changed it up. I realized that it was unhealthy. And I realized that like, if I had an exam on a Monday, well, yeah, I did all the work, right? I studied, but it was like 4 days ago.
So if you were pre-med, did you ever take the MCAT then?
I did not.
So you took the GRE?
No.
You did.
So
PA schools
I didn't
don't
have
need
to.
that?
No.
When did they get, is that a recent
It was
thing?
recent. Yeah. Within the last year or two, most PA schools don't have you take the GRE. There's only a select few.
So what are they? They're just looking for undergrad and patient care experience?
Yep. That's about it.
So I could apply?
Yeah, you could. You technically could. I mean, I switched from pre-med to pre-PA junior year. One, because I know a lot of people in med school that love it, but they do not have a life, which is, I could never imagine having to work that hard. I mean, I know it's going to be tough in PA school, but I'm at the point where I'll still have that balance in my eyes because I know like how to work and how to like separate the time, right? Where, I mean, also like I knew people that were done with med school and they were making $50K working for 4 years after somewhere that they don't want to live, because that was where they were placed. And I really did not want to deal with that. I would rather stay in the city. So yeah, it's tough.
Amazing.
It's really tough.
So in this current era, are you like, you feel like I get the sense that you're just at peace, and that you're not like overtly excited about PA school and you're just kind of like taking it day by day.
I am. I mean, I'm not lying. I'm happier now than I've ever been currently, which is great. And I know that won't last, obviously, once PA school starts. But I think over this last year, I've really like made time for myself as well as still worked hard enough to, have enough money to do things that I want to. Yeah. And, I found a job that I love here. I love my friends at Event Med and, Medex too. I've met people that like, even once I'm in PA school, I'll still stay in contact with. Yeah. So that's not true with every job you have.
No. And we are striving to be that type of place where you feel safe and seen and heard. Like I love hearing about everyone's ideas, and we do our best to build on these ideas. Yeah. And initially this class was kind of like me leading all these labs and all for the sake of consistency. And then it pivoted after realizing that all the instructors that were there for lab are just twiddling their thumbs in the back. Yeah. And
which I have definitely done before. I'm so sorry for that.
Giving you guys an opportunity to lead and to teach. We'll have some ebbs and flows on maybe consistency sometimes, but I think you guys love it. I think you're better leaders for it. I think you take it more seriously. If you are put in a position like, I actually have to speak. I actually have to show something. Yeah. and then the students, like the quality of the meaningful relationship that you get to cultivate with the students exponentially rise.
Yeah.
And so when graduation comes around, you remember people's faces by their names, and you're that much more, glad that you met these people and that you had some level of impact on their success.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that like having us do more also helps them feel like more comfy, right? Because there's always
God.
like medics talking,
Yeah.
or like people that are just basics talking, and they see that like even we have the knowledge, and we're trying to help them out.
Well, that I hear it from time to time of like how students are nervous to talk to me.
Yeah.
And so that is very helpful too.
I mean, even today, the first group, they were like, I don't want a picture.
LT, if you're listening, you're playing too much. You're fine. You're doing just fine.
Yeah.
I understand why the anxiety is there, and I don't know if there's ever anything I can do about that. Besides on the teaching day, kind of just like being more of a nurturing presence rather than this overbearing like, this is you're on my shit list like type presence. It's not always like that. There's just there's a time and place for different things.
Yeah.
Is there anything else before we hop off that you would like the students to know about you or about the program or anything like that?
I mean, I would say at least for the students that are like the ones that haven't taken the class yet, I think that they're making the right choice if they want to be in medicine. I think that like my time and EMS like changed me for the better. And, I came in just like thinking, okay, like this is going to be a job, right? This is going to be something that I can put on my resume for, med school at the time. But like really, it really changes you a lot, right? Like you meet a lot of people that you would never like talk to, right?
Yeah.
So that was great. You see a lot of things that, will help you get ready for your future.
Yeah.
And like in my opinion, like doing EMT or like paramedic is like the best way to get ready for that next step. So yeah, I mean that's what I would say to students that haven't taken it yet, and to those that are in it, I mean just keep practicing. That's really all it takes. I mean, I like when I was in the class, I remember it was over summer, so I had a little bit more time than some people did.
But it was also an accelerated course.
It was, yeah. But I would spend so much time like just trying to practice, like walk through, hey, like if I'm called to this, how do I approach it? Like, sure, maybe I wouldn't go through the whole sheet and do the focus, but I would just think about how, if I had that call in real life, like how I would approach it, what I would do. Yeah. And I think that helped me a lot. So just keep practicing. I mean, there's so many people that are on, like different levels and different walks of life that come into this class. But if you put in the time, it's doable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan.
Of course. Yeah, this was fun.
You are appreciated.
Yeah.
You're a valuable asset to the team. It's been a pleasure getting to know you over the last couple of years. And we're so excited for what's to come for you. And
yeah. Hopefully I'm still around for.
I know, right? We'll treasure the amount of time that we have together.
Yeah.
And I know the students are better for it. Where can people find you if you want to be found?
I'm on Instagram.
It could be Instagram.
Like maybe put it in the bio or something.
Would email be okay?
Yeah.
Email?
Yeah. My email is on the mentor list. I think it's still listed as the mentor list.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll talk, and you can link my Instagram or something if people want to reach out that way.
Okay, everyone. Thanks for sticking with it. Give Ryan a follow if you're interested. We'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Bye.